Hello everyone, my name is Katelyn and I'm excited to dive into the Word with you all. Today we are going to be diving into Acts 2, which is the story about the day of Pentecost. In this passage, we see God do a miracle of giving the apostles the ability to speak in the different languages of those in the crowd. Now this is pretty significant because in this cultural context, the crowd of people who were present at this event were from different nations and spoke different languages. And suddenly these same people were able to understand the apostles because of the power of the Holy Spirit, who gave the apostles the ability to preach the gospel in the crowd's native tongue. Now, if we zoom in a little closer, we see something incredibly important. In verse 7 we read, "Utterly amazed, they asked, 'Aren't all these who are speaking Galileans?'" This was referring to the apostles. For context, at this time, most Jews viewed Galileans as unrefined and uneducated, and because of this, they were typically pretty easy to pick out in the crowd. Galileans were often marginalized by society because they came from rural areas and were often uncultured. However, in this passage, we see the apostles preaching in all sorts of languages, which was a shock to the crowd. They most likely were asking themselves, how is it that these uneducated people are speaking languages they have never heard before? Suddenly, the reality that the gospel message must be heard by all nations became all the more real and meaningful. The crowd felt the weight of their message, and according to verse 41, about 3,000 people accepted the gospel and were baptized that day. How amazing is that? Now, God is more than capable of making it possible for the crowd to switch languages or be able to suddenly speak the language of the apostles. But God chose the most unlikely people to be a vessel for his mission and power. It is so wonderful that we serve a God who picks the marginalized to help with spreading the good news of Jesus Christ to the world. Now, what can we take away from this? What does this mean for us today? It means that we need to always remember that God does extraordinary things in often unexpected ways. I think so often we forget that God has invited us to participate in spreading the gospel. We can easily discredit ourselves into thinking that we aren't capable or equipped for the task. However, what we need to remember is that God has chosen each of us. There have been moments in my own life where I've had doubts of whether I'm fit for doing what Jesus has asked of me. During one of those times, I've had a close friend remind me of something, and if there's one thing I want you to take away from this message, it's this: God doesn't just call the equipped, he equips the called. So if you ever find yourself doubting, just remember that God has given you everything you need to do his will. I hope you walk away knowing that we serve a God who does miraculous things, and he is more than capable of providing us with the ability to live out what he has called us to do. Thank you, and I hope you have a great week.